Alright, hello guys, how's it going? And once again, we're going to be talking about another tornado outbreak for the Deep South and the Southeast. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Also, be sure to join our Facebook group and our Twitter. That's going to be in the comments down below. Now, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, do you prefer sunsets or sunrises? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now, let's get into this video, and we're going to be looking at Day 1 categorical outlook, which is for today, Wednesday, April 22nd, and then we're going to move on later on in the video and move on to Day 2, which is going to be for Thursday, April 23rd. Now let's get right into things. Yesterday I did mention that we could be upgraded to an enhanced risk because we only had a slight risk yesterday, and sure enough we do have an enhanced risk now, and you can see that includes Dallas and Fort Worth, a lot of southeastern Oklahoma, southern Arkansas, and northern Louisiana, even a little bit of Mississippi as well there. This is going to be for all three of our implications: wind, hail, and tornadoes. Let's get into those individual outlooks. First off, we have our wind, which we have 5% in the green, 15% in the yellow, and then 30% in the red, which is a pretty elevated risk for damaging winds. That's all within 25 miles of a given location, by the way. Then, let's go ahead and look at our hail outlook, and you can see we do have a red region as well there for Texas and Oklahoma. We even have a hatched region, which means they're expecting the potential for large 2-inch diameter or more hail within that region there that is hatched. And then we have our tornado risk here, which is 2% in the green, 5% in the brown, 10% in the yellow, which is an upgrade from yesterday. And then we also have that hatched region for Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. And that's indicating an area where they expect the possibility for EF2s to EF5 tornadoes. We're going to talk all about that in our modeled guidance coming up here in just a minute. We're going to talk about that actually. We're going to move on to our NAM 3KM model, and we're going to look at the simulated radar, the significant tornado parameter, and all sorts of stuff like that in just a moment. Alright, so here it is. We're going to look at our actual temperature real quick first off, and you can see that we do have actually upper 80s and even 90s for Texas down there in southern Texas. Obviously, we're not expecting too much severe weather down there, so that's not really an area where we're going to be talking about. However, up for northeastern Texas, we are going to be in the mid-70s, as well as for southeastern Oklahoma. We're going to be in the 60s for Arkansas. Same story for northern Louisiana. Let's look at those dew points as well. Very, very high dew points, 60s and 70s here. The 60s being indicated by the blues, and then the 70s being indicated by the purples, and this is definitely sufficient for severe weather. And then as we look at that CAPE, which is our convective available potential energy, which is just a combination of both of those things, humidity and temperature, combined on all levels of the atmosphere. And we can see that we actually have a more elevated amount there for Texas. We do have a bit for Oklahoma as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to start talking about that simulated radar and that significant tornado parameter. We're going to take it hour by hour and look at what the radar looks like, and then talk about the chance for tornadoes with those storms. Alright, so first things first, we're actually looking at about 8 p.m. today. So this is going to be more of an evening threat. We do have some thunderstorms in the area for Oklahoma right now as we're speaking, but most of the threat is going to start developing this evening. We can see eastern Oklahoma is starting to get some of those supercells developing, as well as northeastern Texas. Let's look at that significant tornado parameter. And yesterday we only had purples on the map, and now we're starting to get more of those tannish, reddish colors. And that's really our more elevated amounts of significant tornado parameter. So this is looking a lot more tornadic than model guidance was suggesting yesterday. And that's why I'm starting to call it a tornado outbreak as opposed to just a severe weather outbreak. So we are going to have plenty of that around. Let's go ahead and look at about maybe 11 p.m. tonight. And we're going to see more of those storms develop in for eastern Texas as we head later on, and those are also going to make their way into Arkansas and Louisiana. Looking at that bulk shear, you can see we do have purples and even reds for a lot of these regions, but especially down there for northeastern Texas and then eastern Oklahoma. There's going to be a sufficient amount of shear to develop long-lived, very large tornadoes potentially here for Oklahoma and Texas, so we're going to need to be on the watch for that, as well as Arkansas and Louisiana. We're going to need to watch all of that. Here's that significant tornado parameter by 11 p.m., and you can see from north to south, it starts to kind of eat away at all of that chance for tornadoes, and most of that is just going to be for southern Texas and then Louisiana, even though the chance for tornadoes will be kind of suppressed by that point. All right, now we're about to move on and we're going to start talking about Thursday, which is tomorrow from the time I'm making this video, where we're going to be talking more about Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida for that severe weather threat. And actually, I'm going to go as far as to say I think Thursday is going to have more severe weather than today will. There's more implications there. So we're about to move on and take a look at that. All right, and as you can see here, we have an enhanced risk for tomorrow as well and a very large slight risk. Most of that is for Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, even North Carolina getting in on some of that slight risk, and then down for Florida. But that enhanced risk is where we're expecting the most severe weather, which will be for a little tiny sliver of Louisiana and Mississippi, but mostly for southern Alabama, the southern 2/3 of Georgia, southern South Carolina, and then northern Florida there. Let's once again look at those individual implications, and we can see our wind outlook. There is an elevated risk for our wind, damaging wind, which is the same story for today. We see 5% in the green, 15% in the yellow, and then we see 30% in the red there. So you can see the biggest threat is for southern Alabama, southern Georgia, southern South Carolina, and then northern Florida there. Let's look at that hail, and we don't have as much of a hail risk. We have 5% in the green and then 15% in the yellow. So the further west you are on day 2, the more chance for hail. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and look at that tornado risk. And this is why I'm calling it an outbreak. Already on day 2, we have 2% in the green, 5% in the brown, and then 10% in the yellow. And we even have a hatched region throughout all of that yellow region, indicating an area where they expect the chance for EF2s to EF5 tornadoes once again, which is going to be a pretty elevated risk for large damaging tornadoes. Wouldn't even surprise me if we see it get upgraded to a 15% chance somewhere within that area in between Alabama and Georgia. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. And if you're wondering if I will go live, I'm just going to have to see what my plans are. I potentially will be going live both of these days for at least some of the time. It really just depends on how my day goes, obviously. Now we're about to move on and we're going to look at the modeled guidance for day 2, which is Thursday as well. And we're going to take it hour by hour looking at that simulated radar. All right, and here's your actual temperatures. You can see we have 60s all around, but we actually have 70s and 80s there for Mississippi, Alabama, southern Georgia especially, and then even in Florida. Those temperatures look really elevated there for Georgia. I'm really worried about southern Georgia and southern Alabama. I can't really decide which state I think is going to have more severe weather, Alabama or Georgia. We have a severe weather competition on our Facebook group. You can join that at any time, by the way, by clicking the link in the pinned comment to join our Facebook group, and there will be a pinned post in there to join the competition. I picked Georgia originally, but now I'm picking Alabama. But really, it's 50-50. We don't really know which state is going to get more severe weather at this point. Let's look at the dew point, and it's pretty clear that there's more for Alabama. Again, we have 60s in the blue shades, and then 70s in the purple shades. Let's look at that Cape, which once again is a kind of combination of both of those two things. In the yellows, we have 2,000 to 3,000 Cape, and in those red colors, we have 3,000 plus. So we definitely have sufficient Cape for both of those two states. So let's take a look at that simulated radar. This is by about maybe 12 p.m. tomorrow, and we can see that there is going to be a line of thunderstorms that head through earlier in the day, and it's actually not our severe weather risk. As we move to about 5 p.m., you can see those move into Georgia, and really we don't see much severe weather with those. Let's look at that tornado parameter, and as you can see, the tornado parameter starts to go insane by about 5 p.m. for Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. We have purples and reds showing up, indicating areas where there is the ingredients for very, very large tornadoes there. So we're seeing that develop behind that first line of thunderstorms, which is very, very interesting. So let's take a look at that simulated radar by about, I would say this is maybe by about 9 p.m. here. And you can see we start to really see those supercells develop for southern Alabama and then central Georgia. And then let's look at that tornado parameter for the same hour. And you can see that we have a lot of that tornado parameter for southern Georgia, not as much as there was for southern Alabama and even northern Florida getting in on some of this very favorable conditions for tornadoes. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that plays out. Please stay safe throughout all of this. This is the third tornado outbreak we've had for this region so far in the month of April. It's been a very, very active month for the Dixie Alley, which is what we call this area. It's very, very unfortunate to see back-to-back-to-back events like this. It's going to be very interesting to see if we continue to see this trend of storms coming through there, or if we see the active area kind of switch to a different region. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what is your first direct weather video that made you subscribe? And Red Eden EAS said, the direct weather video that made me subscribe was the official spring forecast 2020 because I loved the format of your videos. They are very clear. Thank you so much for the kind words, Red Eden. I love interacting with you in the live streams. He's a great moderator on the live streams. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.